The problem for many is that they will be getting to the finish line and looking back over their lives and being plagued with regrets, things that they wish they had prioritized, yet now it's too late.
Yes? I don't get it.
Simply put, death is too late to get your priorities straight. Well, hey there, my name is Ian, and welcome back to Church Door. We're so glad that you're taking some time to be with us here today. Do me a favor if you're new, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that every time we put something out, it's going to come directly to you. Now, we have a team of people here live at 11:30 Central Standard Time every single week. I want to pray with you. We want to walk with you. Whatever you're going through, you can reach out to us, and we'll be happy to pray with you and walk with you through whatever it is. Hit us up in the chat box, or you can text prayer to the number you see coming up on the screen. If you knew you were going to die, what would you eat for your last meal? This, of course, is a question that most of us might not have thoroughly thought through, but if you took a minute, you probably could come up with a meal full of all of your favorite items that you love to have before you died. This week, my celebrity cousin Tom Hanks, whom I have no real relation to, but have been asked many times, has anyone ever told you that you look like Tom Hanks? This is only second to being compared to Andrew Garfield and most recently Carl Azus. I don't see it. Anyway, in his interview with The Mythical Kitchen, Tom shared his favorite last meal picks, which were challah bread French toast with Carrie's sugar-free syrup, an In-N-Out double-double with a Diet Coke, Greek salad with avocado calamari and a side pita with terra masalata, and the Taste of History platter from El Cholo restaurant with a Diet Dr. Pepper, and finally, for dessert, white chocolate coconut bundt cake. Now, some of you might be looking at that meal and asking yourself, is Tom Hanks a 35-year-old pregnant woman or just going senile? It is really a very odd arrangement of items. Yet, faced with our mortality, many things need to be sorted through, and a lot more than just simply our last meal. The problem for many is that they will be getting to the finish line and looking back over their lives and being plagued with regrets, things that they wish they had prioritized, yet now it's too late. Simply put, death is too late to get your priorities straight. That's why today's message I'm calling How to Live for Your Last Meal. This talk is about your family. It's about building a legacy where your children and your children's children can live and thrive in this broken world. And they can do this by passing on the most important thing we can pass on, our faith. Unfortunately, many of us are mistakenly pushing this off. We make excuses, or we're distracted with things that, in the light of eternity, just don't really matter. Things that the world has convinced us are important. In my early years of ministry as a youth pastor, I was constantly shocked by parents who would say they wanted their kids to have faith in Jesus, yet the arrangement of their life never prioritized nurturing that faith. There were always excuses why they could not do that. It sounded like this. Oh, well, if Jimmy is going to get into a good college, he had to spend the extra time studying, so he's not going to be here on Sunday morning. Or if Sarah's going to get a softball scholarship to the University of Tennessee, she's going to have to miss out on the missions trip for softball camp. These parents were blatantly disregarding that if God wanted this for their kids, He would ultimately make that happen despite their situations. And in just about every single one of these situations, neither the worldly aspirations those parents had for their kids or their desire to pass on their faith came to fruition. It was a lose-lose situation. Their investments were obviously way off base. At Luke 14, we see Jesus at a meal giving illustrations to the Pharisees and challenging their thinking about how to live a faithful life for God. He illustrates a banquet where the host calls for his guests, and all of those guests call back with excuses why they cannot make it. They said things like, I bought a field, I must go out and see it. Or, I bought 5 yoke of oxen and I need to go examine them. Or I married a wife and therefore I cannot come. See, I think there are many guys still using this excuse. No matter which way you cut it, these were just lame excuses. So in turn, the host goes out and he finds willing people, No matter their status, whoever would join him in his banquet could enjoy it with him, except the ones who had made lame excuses. This is where many of us have found ourselves, invited to participate in God's great kingdom legacy, and arrogantly we've made excuses, thinking we know better things to invest our time on, and we chase after things of this world. In these scriptures, Jesus reminds the listener the key to his kingdom movement in our lives and for our family. It is all a matter of priorities. So if you're living for your last meal, you will first properly order your priorities. Jesus continues in this chapter by doubling down on this thought, saying this in Luke 14:25-27. Now great crowds accompanied him, and he turned and he said to them, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother, and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple." Well, this is super intense, and I believe it's purposefully so. When we read this, it is hard for us to digest. And I know what you're thinking. I thought this message was about loving your family and leaving a legacy of faith. And it is. Just hear me out. First of all, we have to understand that this is an extreme, not literal. When we weigh this against the whole message of Jesus, which is to love one another and even love our enemies, we can understand there is a little something extra here than we can see meets the eye. But what is it? What is Jesus saying in this message? Jesus was pointing out that you must properly order your priorities. This does not mean neglect your family by literally hating them. What is being said is that Jesus should be first place in my heart, my aim, my life, and my relationships, and in my actions. I said this last week. God is not looking for anything short of everything in your life. Yet what tends to happen is we do get things severely out of order. We do put our family first in priority, and our relationship with Jesus will take a back seat. We neglect to follow Jesus with all that we are. And then we question, why are my kids not coming to follow Jesus? Well, I would argue that it stems back to the priorities in your life. How can you expect your kids to follow Jesus if you, too, are not indeed following Jesus as your first priority? And here's my next thought. If you're living for your last meal, you will count the cost. This is what the scripture says. For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, "This man began to build and was not able to finish." Or what king going out to encounter another king in war will not sit down first and deliberate whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? And if not, while together is yet a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So therefore, any of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. These scriptures highlight our investments that are to be made, or maybe a more spiritual way of saying that is the sacrifices that need to take place. These verses paint the picture of a casual Christian who says, yes, Jesus is what I want, yet starts down the path and realizes that the cost of investment is way too high. And what is that investment? According to these verses, is to renounce all that you have. In other words, there's nothing that I would not sacrifice, just as Jesus has sacrificed for me. If there's not a continual sacrifice, a continual laying down of self, our family, our friends, our church, and our community, we will find ourselves in a place wondering why. Why are things not working out? It's ultimately because we have failed to count the cost and invest ourselves fully. I have one final thought. If you're living for your last meal, you will reflect the values of your investment. This chapter of Luke ends by saying this: salt is good, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is of no use either for the soil or for the manure pile. It is thrown away. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. In the ancient world, salt was of high value because of its many useful properties. And it was so highly valued that it was often used as payment for a Roman soldier's wage. These verses are saying there is a reason our investment is so high. It's so that the value of the gospel might come alive in us. And because it's alive in us, it might become useful in the lives of others, especially our kids and our families. In the investment world, there's the concept of dividends, which is a payoff from the profit of an investment. By prioritizing our faith and investing our whole life in our walk with Jesus, the dividends or the payout for our investment are the lives around us. Let me put it one last way. When you're on a plane and you're going through the safety measures, who is supposed to put on the oxygen mask first in the case of an emergency? That's right, the parents. Because the parent has no value to the child if they are passed out on the floor. So parents, listen close. We are of no value to our children if we haven't first gone after Jesus with all that we are. So if you are living for your last meal, it's absolutely crucial. If we want to leave a legacy for our kids and grandkids, then we need to get our priorities straight. Count the cost by investing everything, and in turn, live out the values that God gives us to our kids. And that is how you leave a godly legacy. If you're here and you've never given your life to Jesus and you want to start on that road to building a godly legacy for your family, for generations to come, our team is here to walk with you. All you have to do is reach out to us in the chat or text prayer to the number on the screen, and we would be happy to walk you through those steps. We are so glad that you've come to be here with us today. So do us a quick favor. If you would like this video, share it with somebody, or you can go the extra mile. Go to rivervalleyrockford.org/give and make a donation there. Every single cent that comes in goes right back out to help people just like you take their next step with Jesus. Our prayer for you is as you go that you would walk in the ways of Jesus, giving Him everything. That includes your kids, your family, your work. All the environments God puts you in, may you submit it to Him, and that through that, God will make miracles in your life and through your life. Be blessed as you go. We can't wait to see you again here next week.